contributor. Laura, I know right now you're looking at this situation, and you know that how much is on the line for those people and for the president. You brought up last night a great point. Where's the staff? Where's Homeland Security? Where are the nominations? Why are they being held up? And why are so many positions don't have nominees for them yet?
Yeah, well, we only have had a FEMA director since June. Now, truth be told, the Trump administration didn't nominate Brock until April. So that wasn't a bad turnaround, but I think we can all look at these horrific pictures and we can conclude that a federal government does need staff. We see it acutely in need of staff in a situation like this. This isn't the only crisis we're facing. This is massive, humanitarian. We're also facing a huge crisis with North Korea. We're facing a crisis of confidence across the country where people wonder, even with President Trump in, he said he was going to drain the swamp, can we have a government that works for the people and not just have a people enslaved to the government?
Right. You have 117 that need confirmation. 106 have been confirmed, but 366 positions with no nominee.
Yeah, I mean, this is a question that has to be posed to the administration. I know they have a lot on their hands, but we have to have people in place. If there's a plan to not staff and cause the ultimate shrinkage of government, then let's hear about that as well. But
sure.
At Homeland Security, at FEMA, at the U.S. Trade Representative's office, where they're doing the huge renegotiation of NAFTA. Do you know Bob Lighthizer does not have a permanent deputy in place? He does not have a team of people right underneath him who are permanent for this administration. That's a massive undertaking. And, you know, they're doing it with a much smaller staff, and it's not ideal.
Makes it pretty tough to do your job. What we were just showing on the screen are live rescue efforts out of Houston. We know the president shortly will be leaving the White House, heading down to Texas to survey a lot of these situations himself.
Horrible.
What do you make so far of how this administration has responded?
Look, I think there was no real ability to plan for something this massive. I happened to be in Corpus Christi on Wednesday night, and they were going about the planning for this storm in a very methodical way in Corpus Christi. But they didn't know it was going to be this big. They thought it could be a bad storm, but not this big. And my friends in Houston never thought they were going to have to evacuate. And then they evacuated on Saturday to another location that itself is now being flooded. So with all the well-laid plans, the best of the well-laid plans out there, you really can't criticize anyone for this, and I think for the response here. Look at what the volunteers are doing. Look at what the individual citizens are doing. It reminds me of what John Steinbeck wrote about Texas. He said, despite all of Texas, all the geographical differences and the Gulf versus the Panhandle, a lot of different people end up settling in Texas, but there's a cohesiveness and an identity and a spirit that is uniquely Texan. I've noticed, and I know you guys have been there a lot. There is something about Texas where people pull together in a very unique and inspiring way. I do think you're seeing that.
I think it's because they take responsibility for their lives. It's not perfect. What do I have to deal to be? I mean, it's hard to say it about a state that size, but it seems to be the mindset.
Yep.
You know what I also thought about? The people that there were. I lived in Texas during when Katrina happened. There were so many people from Louisiana that were displaced, so they rebuilt their lives in Texas. I wonder how many of those are living through it again that were trying to escape Katrina and now, are stuck in all this mess.
That's a great point, Ainsley. A lot of them permanently resettled in Texas. And, maybe there's something that we can all start, like adopt a family and bring them. I guess I could adopt a family and bring them to my house. I'm happy to do that. I think there are a lot of people across this country with, who want to open their homes and hearts to people. And maybe we all need to do that as Americans. If we have 30,000 plus people displaced with no place to go and maybe no family to go to, I think we all have an ability to kind of step up. The government's never going to be loving arms, or they're not going to be able to give the love that people need at a time like this. People need love and prayers.
You can't live in a gym for a month.
These kids need homes, so maybe there's something we all can do in that regard.
Well, talking about conflict, I want to take you to another story to get your take on it. The the peaceful conservative protests that happened in California over the weekend or a couple of days ago, and you had black-clad Antifa members attacking these. It was a free speech protest at Berkeley. What have we finally exposed the violent left for who they are? Will the media acknowledge that there really are two sides to this?
Yeah, there were a few little stories. Washington Post had a story on page A3 yesterday, but they still, even when they wrote about it, they had to say, well, there were the right-wing protesters were there. But I mean, these Patriot Prayer Group, as far as I can tell, is not. I don't believe it's a white supremacist group. I don't think so. I don't know who else was there, but they were not the ones causing the trouble. And imagine if the roles were reversed here, and it was any type of conservative group that was taking bats and pepper spray to peaceful, liberal, left-wing protesters. Imagine that story. It wouldn't have been on page A3 of the Washington Post.
I'll tell you who the two groups are. There was a Patriots Prayer group led by Joey Gibson, and there was a Trump transgender group. They had an event canceled when they heard the Antifa people were showing up. So they showed up, and these guys were saying, we're hitting you to denounce racism. They're not racist.
And they were
having a demonstration.
They were rallying against hate.
Right, and they were peaceful, and they kept urging people as they were walking, even in the periphery of this. We're here in prayer. We're here in peace. Please don't raise your hands to us. And then you go on YouTube. You can watch all these videos. It is scary. And we should also urge everyone to consider pressing this idea of declaring Antifa a terrorist organization. There's a change.org petition about that.
Will the left do that? Will Democrats do that?
Well, I mean, they're volunteering all of this condemnation joyfully against President Trump post-Charlottesville. They piled on him as fast as possible after Charlottesville.
Yep.
Okay, they can make whatever comment they want about that. That's their prerogative. But this is on videotape. This group is trying actively to intimidate, suppress free speech, and violently attack people with whom they disagree. There's a possible RICO action that could be filed here, racketeering, influence, and corruption organization statute that we could, statute that we can pursue here. There are lots of different ways to act against this disparate group called Antifa. It's a kind of an amalgam of a bunch of left-wing anarchists and activists. There's not one central organization. They're all over the place. But there is a way to pursue this, and I hope this administration is looking at this very carefully because people could die here. Yeah. Number one, we had a horrible situation in Charlottesville with Ms. Heller losing her life after this hate rally of the KKK and so forth. But we could have the same thing happen again. And apparently, other than a few news outlets, no one's really taking this all that seriously.
Oh, yeah, it's such a double standard.
I would just ask a Democrat, will they disavow this group?
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, we're waiting for the condemnation. Barack Obama, all these other people who, how about the Bushes? Yeah. Have the Bushes commented about Antifa? I'd like to hear them on that.
Yeah, I like
both sides.
But Nancy Pelosi is reviewing footage of her dad in 1948 dedicating a Confederate statue, which, by the way, must be fascinating for her.
Yeah, unfortunate.
All right, thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
All right, guys, good to see you.
All right, now.